When you hear the name Virginia Woolf, you probably think of a novelist, right? Well, today, we're going to look at her as something more, a revolutionary. She didn't just want to write new kinds of stories. She wanted to hand us a whole new toolkit for understanding what fiction, and really what life itself, could actually be. So let's dive into her guide for breaking the rules.
First things first, to really get Woolf, you have to understand the literary battlefield she was stepping onto. On one side, you had the old guard, the establishment, writers she cheekily called the materialists. Think H.G. Wells, Arnold Bennett. These guys were masters of the outside world, describing every last detail. But on the other side, a new wave was rising. Woolf put herself and authors like James Joyce in this camp, calling them the spiritualists. Why? Because they were exploring a totally different frontier, the inner world of the human mind.
And this gets us right to the heart of her big complaint. Woolf looked around at the most popular novels of her day, and she thought, these are perfectly constructed, they're detailed, they seem realistic, but they're missing the most important thing of all. They're missing life itself.
She saw the traditional rules of writing, the neat plot, the mandatory love story, the tidy ending, not as helpful tools, but as a kind of tyrant. This tyrant, she said, was holding writers captive, forcing them into these predictable formulas that have almost nothing to do with how we actually experience our own reality. It was like they were slaves to convention.
She had this brilliant metaphor to explain it. She said, these other writers were building these magnificent, flawless houses in their novels. I mean, every brick was perfect, every detail was just so. But here's the problem. All the windows were sealed shut. No fresh air, no chaos, none of the messiness of actual life could ever get inside. They were beautiful, sure, but they were also completely sterile. Okay, so if the old way was broken, what was her big solution? This is where we get her first tool. She laid out a totally new mission for novelists. Stop just describing the outside of the house and start capturing the messy, chaotic, beautiful flow of what it feels like to be alive inside it.
She said, look, life isn't this neat, orderly straight line. It's not like a row of street lamps, all perfectly arranged. No, she saw it as the shimmering, always changing, luminous halo of thoughts and feelings and memories that surrounds us from one moment to the next. And that, she believed, was the writer's real job, to somehow capture that halo on the page.
So, how on earth do you write a halo? Well, she championed a technique that was perfect for it: stream of consciousness. The whole idea was to try and record thoughts as they actually happen, all those random little atoms as they fall upon the mind. It's about tracing the true path of our inner world, no matter how jumpy or disconnected it might seem from the outside.
But here's the thing. Woolf was also deeply practical. She knew that this kind of daring, artistic freedom doesn't just happen in a vacuum. To get the mental space to actually explore that luminous halo, she argued that a writer, and she was very specific here, especially a woman writer, needed two very concrete things that history had usually denied them: financial independence and a private, physical space to think, money, and a room of one's own.
Okay, so let's shift gears to her second tool. Because she wasn't just trying to free writers, she wanted to free us, the readers, too. She saw that we'd all become a little bit enslaved to the so-called experts and the critics who are always telling us what we should think about a book.
Her advice for us is so simple, it's almost radical. Ignore all that noise. Forget the book reviews, forget what the academics say. She begged readers to trust their own gut, to follow their own instincts, arguing that your personal reaction to a book is the only one that truly matters in the end. And she even gave us a clear 3-step plan for how to do this as a common reader. Step 1. Collaborate. Don't start judging right away. Open your mind and just try to become part of the author's world. Step 2. Understand. Get a real feel for the time and place the book came from. And only after you've done those two things do you get to step 3. Judge. Form your own opinion and own it.
Now, this third and final tool, this one might be her most revolutionary. It's not just about writing differently or reading differently. It's about this incredible act of historical recovery. It's about going back and finding the genius that history has buried and completely forgotten. Woolf argued that for centuries, history was essentially split in two. You had the public world, the world of men. That's where you find the epic poems, the politics, the wars. That's the stuff that got written down and celebrated. And then you had the private world, the world of women, a world of letters, diaries, quiet observations, a world that was almost always dismissed as trivial.
But Woolf said, hold on. It was in that private world that a whole new kind of genius was being born. She points to people like Dorothy Osborne from the 17th century.
Osborne's brilliance was trapped in her personal letters, but Woolf read them and saw all the ingredients of a great novel. Razor-sharp characters, an amazing ear for dialogue, real psychological depth. Or someone like Mary Wollstonecraft, whose life was so defiant and radical that her life itself was the work of art. A story written in actions, not just in ink.
So here's the bombshell, the crucial point she was making. The modern novel, with its deep dive into our inner lives, wasn't invented on some grand public stage. Woolf believed it was being secretly invented, piece by piece, for generations, in the private diaries and letters of women who had no other place to put their creative fire.
And all of this brings us to her ultimate legacy. It's not some dusty old theory you read in a textbook. No, it's a living, breathing challenge that she leaves for every single one of us today. What she really gave us is a roadmap, a guide to help us look past the official, celebrated, prize-winning art and learn to find genius in all the unexpected places. She taught us to value the scraps and fragments, the diaries and letters of her time, and maybe the blogs, the social media threads, the podcasts of ours, the places where new stories are being told right now.
And so her work doesn't really end with an answer. It ends with a question that she hands directly to us. Who are the overlooked geniuses of our time? Whose incredible stories are unfolding right in front of us, but maybe in a form we haven't learned how to recognize as art yet? Whose voices are